Welcome to Scary Show at Nocturnal Studio. Let's move on to tonight's first incident without further ado. The night was eerily quiet as Sarah and her friends gathered around the campfire, their faces illuminated by the flickering flames. They had come to these woods for a weekend of adventure, but little did they know the terror that awaited them. As they shared ghost stories and roasted marshmallows, Sarah suddenly froze. A faint whisper caught her attention, sending chills down her spine. "Sarah, come to me," the voice hissed. She whipped her head around, searching for the source, but saw nothing but darkness beyond the circle of firelight. "Did you guys hear that?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling. Her friends exchanged confused glances. "Hear what?" Mike replied, raising an eyebrow. "I didn't hear anything." Sarah shook her head, trying to convince herself it was just her imagination. But as the night wore on, the voice returned, growing louder and more insistent. "Sarah, I'm waiting for you," it called, seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. She jumped to her feet, panic rising in her chest. "There it is again. How can you not hear it?" She cried, her eyes wide with fear. Her friends looked at her with growing concern. "Sarah, are you feeling okay?" Emily asked gently. "Maybe you should get some rest." But Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. As they retired to their tents for the night, the voice followed her, whispering dark promises and sinister threats. She tossed and turned, unable to escape its relentless presence. In the early hours of the morning, Sarah bolted upright, sweat beading on her forehead. The voice was clearer than ever, urging her to leave the safety of the campsite. Against her better judgment, she unzipped her tent and stepped out into the misty darkness. Her friends, awakened by the sound, called out to her, "Sarah, where are you going?" But their voices seemed distant and muffled compared to the one that beckoned her deeper into the woods. As she stumbled through the underbrush, branches scratching at her skin, Sarah realized with growing horror that she was no longer in control of her own body. The voice had taken over, guiding her towards an unknown destination. Her friends searched frantically, their flashlights cutting through the fog. They called her name until their voices grew hoarse, but Sarah was beyond their reach now. Days later, when the search parties combed the area, they found no trace of Sarah. It was as if she had vanished into thin air, leaving behind only whispered rumors of a voice that could drive a person mad. To this day, hikers in those woods sometimes report hearing a faint, ghostly whisper carried on the wind. But only one person can hear it clearly, the next victim of the voice that calls from beyond. As the years passed, Sarah's disappearance became the stuff of local legend. Some said she had run away, while others insisted she had fallen victim to a wild animal. But those who knew her best couldn't shake the memory of that night around the campfire, when Sarah first heard the voice that no one else could hear. The incident served as a chilling reminder that sometimes the most terrifying horrors are those that exist solely in our own minds. Or do they? For in the depths of those dark woods, something ancient and malevolent still waits, seeking out its next victim with a whisper that only they can hear. As you listen to this tale, you might find yourself glancing over your shoulder, wondering if you too might hear that ghostly voice. But remember, once you hear it, it may already be too late. If you enjoyed this spine-chilling story, make sure to like this video and leave a comment sharing your own experiences with unexplained phenomena. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more terrifying tales that will keep you up at night. Let's move on to the next incident. It's even more terrifying So get ready. One of our listeners sent in this incident. Let's tell you his story in the same way. I grew up in a small town in Texas that was just outside of Dallas. We didn't have much to do there, so my friends and I would always go into the city to explore. One day we decided to go to this abandoned hospital that we heard about. It was said to be one of the most haunted places in Texas. Of course, being teenagers, we didn't believe any of that, and we went there to check it out. It was an old, dilapidated building, but we managed to get inside. As we were walking through the halls, I noticed that all of the doors were either boarded up or had no handles. There was a sign that read, "Do not enter," and another one that said, "Danger, keep out." Despite all of the warnings, we continued on. We came across this room with what looked like a gurney in the middle of it. The three of us started making fun of it, calling it a torture rack. Little did we know, it really was one. At least that's what the story says. I don't know if it's true, but it makes for a hell of a tale. We were having a great time messing around in this abandoned hospital until we heard a noise. It sounded like footsteps, but it wasn't anything like you've ever heard before. You couldn't tell where it was coming from or what they were. I'll try my best to imitate the sound for you. After hearing it, we ran out of there. We never looked back. We got in my car and drove off. I could have sworn that I heard the footsteps following us, though. This happened many years ago, and I haven't thought about it much since then. I recently told the story to some friends, and they said that I should make a post about it online. That's what I did. I posted about it on Reddit and asked people to give me their thoughts. The response that I got was insane. This one user said, "Up, if those were the footsteps of the damned that you heard, then you should count yourself lucky that you got away when you did. Those who hear the footsteps are never meant to escape with their lives. And those who do survive will never be the same again." Another user said, "You can run, but you can't hide. The sound will follow you everywhere, even in your dreams. When you close your eyes, you'll see them standing over you, and when you open them, they'll be gone. But the sound will still remain, driving you insane." It's not the first time I've heard a story like this. There are several different versions of it, but they all basically say the same thing. Some people believe that if you hear the footsteps of the damned, then you only have seconds to get out of there before it's too late. Others say that the footsteps are a warning, and that if you stay around to listen to them, then you'll be cursed to hear them for the rest of your life. I didn't know what to believe until I did some research. That's when I came across this article from the Dallas Morning News. It told the story of a man who had been hiking in the woods when he heard a noise that he described as the sound of footsteps of someone heavy walking on dry leaves. He tried to run away, but the footsteps followed him. He ended up dying of a heart attack. The coroner said that it was likely caused by the stress of hearing the footsteps. I don't want to scare you, but I think it's important to be aware of this. If you ever find yourself in a situation where you hear what sounds like footsteps in the woods, then please get out of there as fast as you can. Don't try to investigate it. Just get out of there. As for me, I'm still freaked out about what I heard in that abandoned hospital. I can't help but wonder if those really were the footsteps of the damned. Maybe some of you can help me find out. Have you ever heard anything like this before? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to hear more scary stories, please subscribe to this channel. Thanks for staying with us. Hey there, fellow horror enthusiasts. I'm about to share a chilling tale that'll make your skin crawl. This story comes from Daniel, a brave soul who experienced something truly terrifying on Clinton Road in New Jersey. He wrote it down and asked me to share it with you all. So dim the lights, grab a blanket, and prepare yourself for a journey into the unknown. It was a crisp autumn evening when Daniel and his friends decided to take a drive down the infamous Clinton Road. They'd heard all the urban legends, the ghost boy at the bridge, the phantom trucks, and the whispers of occult activity in the surrounding woods. But nothing could have prepared them for what they were about to encounter. As they cruised down the winding road, the dense forest seemed to close in around them. The car's headlights barely penetrated the darkness, and an eerie mist began to form. Daniel, who was driving, felt a sudden chill run down his spine. He glanced at his friends, noticing their nervous expressions. Suddenly, the radio crackled to life, emitting a series of strange, garbled noises. Static filled the air, punctuated by what sounded like distant screams. Daniel's friend in the passenger seat frantically tried to turn it off, but the knob seemed stuck. Just then, a figure appeared in the middle of the road. Daniel slammed on the brakes, the tires screeching against the asphalt. The car came to a halt mere inches from the mysterious silhouette. It was a young boy, no older than 10, with pale skin and hollow eyes. He stood motionless, staring directly at them. Daniel blinked, and in that split second, the boy vanished. The friends sat in stunned silence, their hearts racing. Was this the ghost boy from the legends? Before they could process what had happened, they heard a deafening roar behind them. Glancing in the rearview mirror, Daniel saw a massive truck barreling towards them, its headlights blazing. He gunned the engine, desperate to escape. The truck pursued them relentlessly, seeming to appear out of thin air whenever they thought they'd lost it. As they sped down the road, the landscape began to shift and warp. Trees seemed to move, their branches reaching out like gnarled fingers. Shadows danced at the edge of their vision, taking on grotesque forms. The air grew thick with an oppressive energy, making it hard to breathe. Suddenly, they came upon a clearing. In the center stood a group of hooded figures surrounding a glowing symbol etched into the ground. The truck behind them vanished, but they found themselves unable to move, as if an invisible force held them in place. The hooded figures turned towards the car, their faces hidden in shadow. One stepped forward, raising its arms. The symbol on the ground pulsed with an otherworldly light, and Daniel felt a searing pain in his head. Images flashed before his eyes, ancient rituals, forgotten deities, and glimpses of realms beyond human comprehension. Just as quickly as it began, it was over. Daniel found himself back on Clinton Road, the car idling quietly. His friends looked dazed and confused, as if waking from a dream. They drove home in silence, each trying to make sense of what they'd experienced. In the days that followed, Daniel couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. He saw shadows where there shouldn't be any, heard whispers in empty rooms. His dreams were filled with visions of that night, each more terrifying than the last. He wrote down his experience, hoping that sharing it might bring some clarity or closure. But deep down, he knew that his encounter on Clinton Road had opened a door to something beyond our world, a door that might never fully close. So there you have it, folks. Daniel's harrowing tale of Clinton Road. Was it mass hallucination? A paranormal encounter? Or something even more sinister? We may never know for sure. But one thing's certain. Clinton Road holds secrets that defy explanation. If you enjoyed this spine-tingling story, make sure to hit that like button and leave a comment with your thoughts. Have you ever experienced something unexplainable on a lonely road? Share your stories below. And don't forget to subscribe for more terrifying tales from the darkest corners of our world. Until next time, sleep tight, if you can. The ranch's reputation for strange happenings dates back centuries, with Native American legends speaking of shape-shifting creatures and malevolent spirits that roam the land. But it's the modern-day accounts that truly capture the imagination and strike fear into the hearts of those who hear them. One such account comes from a former ranch hand who wishes to remain anonymous. His story, shared exclusively with our YouTube channel, serves as a chilling warning to those who might dare to venture onto the property unprepared. It was a crisp autumn evening when our witness, let's call him John, was performing his usual rounds of the ranch. The sun had just dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the rugged landscape. As John approached the old homestead, an uneasy feeling crept over him. The air grew thick and heavy, as if charged with an otherworldly energy. Suddenly, John heard a low, guttural growl emanating from the darkness. His flashlight beam danced across the property, revealing nothing but empty fields and dilapidated structures. Yet the growling intensified, seeming to come from all directions at once. John's heart raced as he realized he was surrounded by an unseen presence. In a panic, John sprinted towards his truck, the growls now accompanied by the sound of heavy footfalls. As he reached for the door handle, a massive, dark shape loomed in his peripheral vision. John caught a glimpse of glowing red eyes and razor-sharp teeth before he threw himself into the vehicle and sped away. But the terror didn't end there. As John drove frantically down the dirt road leading away from the ranch, his truck's electrical system began to malfunction. The headlights flickered and died, plunging him into total darkness. The engine sputtered and stalled, leaving John stranded in the heart of Skinwalker Ranch. For what felt like hours, John sat in the silent darkness, too afraid to leave the relative safety of his vehicle. Strange lights danced in the sky above, and inhuman screams echoed across the landscape. It wasn't until the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon that John's truck mysteriously roared back to life, allowing him to escape the ranch's sinister grasp. This harrowing tale is just one of many that have emerged from Skinwalker Ranch over the years. Visitors and researchers alike have reported encounters with UFOs, interdimensional portals, and creatures that seem to defy classification. Some have witnessed animals mutilated in ways that modern science cannot explain, while others have experienced inexplicable time loss or found themselves transported to different locations on the property without explanation. The ranch's current owners have implemented strict security measures, limiting access to the property and carefully vetting those who are allowed to conduct research there. But even these precautions haven't been enough to stem the tide of strange occurrences that continue to plague the land. Theories abound as to the source of Skinwalker Ranch's mysteries. Some believe it to be a hotspot for extraterrestrial activity, while others point to ancient Native American curses or naturally occurring electromagnetic anomalies. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain: Skinwalker Ranch remains one of America's most enigmatic and terrifying locations. As John's story demonstrates, the ranch's mysteries are not merely academic curiosities. They pose very real dangers to those who dare to explore its secrets. The psychological toll of encountering the unexplainable can be severe, leaving witnesses traumatized and forever changed by their experiences. It's crucial that we approach the mysteries of Skinwalker Ranch with both curiosity and caution, While the allure of solving its riddles is strong, we must remember that some secrets may be better left undiscovered. The ranch serves as a stark reminder that there are still places in our world where the veil between the known and the unknown is frighteningly thin. As we continue to investigate the phenomena at Skinwalker Ranch, we must do so responsibly and with respect for the forces we may not yet understand. The stories that emerge from this enigmatic place serve as both a warning and a call to expand our understanding of the world around us. If you found this exploration of Skinwalker Ranch's mysteries as fascinating and chilling as we have, please don't forget to like this video, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth looks at the world's most perplexing and terrifying locations. Stay safe out there, and remember, some mysteries are best observed from a distance. Hey there, fellow thrill seekers and paranormal enthusiasts. Now we're diving into the chilling world of haunted asylums. And boy, do we have a spine-tingling tale for you. This is fifth story of today's episode, and it comes straight from one of our brave viewers who experienced something truly terrifying in an abandoned mental institution. So, grab your blankets, turn down the lights, and prepare to be spooked. Our anonymous contributor, let's call her Sarah, sent us an email detailing her hair-raising encounter at the infamous Oakwood Asylum. She wanted to share her story to warn others about the dangers lurking in these forgotten places. Sarah and her friends had always been fascinated by urban exploration, but nothing could have prepared them for what they encountered that fateful night. It was a crisp autumn evening when Sarah and her three friends decided to investigate the abandoned Oakwood Asylum. The building had been shut down for decades, its dark history shrouded in mystery and whispers of mistreatment. As they approached the crumbling structure, an eerie silence fell over the group. The air grew thick with tension, and Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Armed with flashlights and cameras, the group cautiously made their way inside. The asylum's interior was a maze of decaying corridors and empty rooms, each one telling a silent story of the patients who once called this place home. Sarah described the overwhelming sense of sadness and despair that seemed to seep from the very walls. As they ventured deeper into the asylum, strange occurrences began to plague the group. Their flashlights flickered inexplicably, and cold spots appeared out of nowhere. Sarah swears she heard distant whispers, and the faint sound of footsteps echoing through the empty halls. But it wasn't until they reached the third floor that things took a truly terrifying turn. In what appeared to be an old treatment room, Sarah's friend Mike suddenly froze in his tracks. His face went pale, and he started trembling uncontrollably. When asked what was wrong, Mike could only point to a dark corner of the room. The others saw nothing, but Mike insisted there was a figure standing there, watching them with hollow eyes. Panic set in, and the group decided it was time to leave. But as they turned to exit, the heavy metal door slammed shut on its own. No matter how hard they pushed and pulled, it wouldn't budge. Sarah described the overwhelming feeling of dread that washed over them as they realized they were trapped. For what felt like hours, they huddled together in the darkness, listening to the sounds of shuffling feet and muffled cries echoing around them. Objects moved on their own, and icy fingers seemed to brush against their skin. It was until the first light of dawn broke through the grimy windows that the door suddenly swung open, allowing them to escape. Sarah's email concluded with a heartfelt warning to anyone considering exploring abandoned asylums. She emphasized the very real dangers, both physical and supernatural, that lurk in these forgotten places. The experience left her and her friends deeply shaken, and they vowed never to set foot in another haunted location again. This chilling account serves as a stark reminder of the dark history that lingers in places like Oakwood Asylum. The spirits of those who suffered within its walls seem to remain, trapped between worlds and eager to make their presence known to the living. As we wrap up this bone-chilling tale, we can't help but wonder, what other secrets do these abandoned asylums hold? Are the spirits of former patients and staff still roaming the halls, seeking justice, or simply a way to be heard? The answers may be out there, waiting for those brave enough to seek them out. But remember, dear viewers, exploring these locations comes with serious risks. Always prioritize your safety and respect the history of these places. Sometimes, it's better to let sleeping ghosts lie. If you enjoyed this haunting story and want to hear more like it, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all our latest spooky content. And if you've had your own paranormal experience in an abandoned asylum or any other haunted location, share it with us in the comments below. Who knows? Your story might be featured in our next video. Until next time, keep your eyes open, your wits about you. And remember, the truth is often stranger and scarier than fiction. Sweet dreams, if you can have them after this. Hey there, horror fans. Gather round, because I've got a bone-chilling tale that'll make your skin crawl. This isn't just any old ghost story. It has something that happened to a very close friend of mine. I've been itching to share this on the show, and tonight's the night. So dim the lights, grab your favorite blanket, and prepare to be terrified. Without further ado, let's begin the sixth story of this episode. Our story revolves around my buddy Peterson. Now, Pete's always been a skeptic when it comes to the paranormal. He's the kind of guy who'd walk into a haunted house with a smirk, ready to debunk every creaky floorboard and rustling curtain. But what happened to him last month? Well, let's just say it wiped that smirk right off his face. It all started when Peterson inherited an old Victorian mansion from a distant relative he never even met. Strange, right? But hey, free house. Who's gonna complain? The place was tucked away in a small town, surrounded by dense woods. Perfect setting for a horror movie, if you ask me. Pete decided to spend a weekend there, checking out his new property. He arrived on a Friday evening, the sun already dipping below the tree line, casting long shadows across the overgrown lawn. The house loomed before him, its windows like dark, hollow eyes staring down at its new owner. As he stepped inside, the musty smell of age and neglect hit him like a wall. Dust motes danced in the fading light that filtered through grimy windows. Pete shrugged off the eerie feeling and set about exploring his new digs. That first night, he told me, was when things started getting weird. He was jolted awake by what sounded like footsteps on the floor above. But that was impossible. The house was only 2 stories, and he was on the 2nd floor. There was no attic, no higher level for anyone to be walking on. Telling himself it was just the house settling, Pete tried to go back to sleep. But then came the whispering. Faint at first, like the rustle of leaves in the wind. But it grew louder, more insistent. He couldn't make out the words, but the voices seemed to be arguing, growing angrier by the second. Pete sat up, heart pounding. The whispers stopped abruptly, replaced by an oppressive silence. Then, a child's laughter echoed through the house. It started as a giggle, then grew into a maniacal cackle that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Grabbing his phone for light, Pete stumbled out of bed. As he reached for the doorknob, the laughter cut off. The silence that followed was somehow worse. He yanked the door open, ready to make a run for it, and found himself face to face with a little girl. She stood there in the hallway, pale as death, with long dark hair obscuring most of her face. Pete froze, unable to move, unable to breathe. Slowly, the girl raised her head, her hair parting to reveal nothing. Where her face should have been was just smooth, blank skin. Pete screamed. He told me he'd never screamed like that in his life. He bolted past the girl, down the stairs, and out of the house. He didn't stop running until he reached his car, peeling out of the driveway so fast he left tire marks. When he called me the next day, his voice was shaking. He swore he'd never set foot in that house again. And you know what? I believe him. There was something in his eyes when he told me this story, a haunted look that I'd never seen before. Now I know what you're thinking. Maybe Pete was just overtired, imagining things in an unfamiliar place. But here is the kicker. When he went back a week later with a realtor to put the house on the market, they found something chilling. In one of the upstairs bedrooms, scratched into the wall, were the words, "Welcome home, Peterson. We've been waiting for you." So, what do you think? Was it all just a coincidence, or did Peterson really encounter something supernatural in that old Victorian mansion? I'll let you decide. But one thing's for sure. Pete's not taking any more surprise inheritances anytime soon. If this story sent shivers down your spine, make sure to hit that like button. And hey, why not share your own creepy experiences in the comments below? I'd love to hear them. Don't forget to subscribe for more terrifying tales, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Until next time, sleep tight. And maybe check under your bed before you do. Sweet dreams, horror fans. Starting the most terrifying and final event of this episode. That'll make your skin crawl and your heart race. This isn't just any old ghost story. This is something that happened right in my own neighborhood to a man I've known for years. My neighbor, Robert, has always been a quiet, unassuming guy. The type who keeps to himself, but always waves hello when you pass by. Never in a million years did I think he'd be at the center of something so terrifying. It all started on a seemingly ordinary Tuesday evening. Robert had just gotten home from work, ready to settle in for a quiet night. He'd picked up some takeout on the way home, looking forward to catching up on his favorite shows. But as he approached his front door, he noticed something off. The porch light was flickering, which was strange because he'd just changed the bulb last week. And there was this dot smell, like something rotten, wafting from inside the house. Robert hesitated, key in hand, a chill running down his spine. But he shook it off, telling himself he was being silly. It was probably just some old food he'd forgotten to throw out. As he stepped inside, the smell hit him like a wall. It was overwhelming, making his eyes water and his stomach churn. And then he heard it, a soft scratching sound coming from upstairs. Robert froze, his heart pounding in his chest. He lived alone. There shouldn't be any sounds coming from up there. Against his better judgment, Robert slowly made his way up the stairs. Each step creaked under his feet, seeming impossibly loud in the eerie silence. The scratching got louder as he reached the top, and he realized it was coming from his bedroom. With trembling hands, he pushed open the door. What he saw inside, well, I'll spare you the gory details. But let's just say It was something straight out of your worst nightmares. Robert stumbled backward. A scream caught in his throat. He turned to run, but the door slammed shut behind him. For the next 3 hours, Robert was trapped in that room, face to face with something. Something that shouldn't exist in our world. Something that whispered terrible things in his ear and showed him visions that would drive most men insane. When he finally escaped, and I won't go into how, because honestly, I'm not sure I believe it myself, Robert was a changed man. His hair had gone completely white, and there was a haunted look in his eyes that I don't think will ever go away. He told me the story the next day, his voice shaking, his hands trembling as he clutched a cup of coffee. I didn't want to believe him. I mean, how could I? It sounded impossible, like something out of a horror movie. But the fear in his eyes, that was real. And when I went to his house later that day, I saw, well, let's just say there was evidence that something truly horrifying had happened there. Robert moved out the next day. Can't say I blame him. I wouldn't be able to spend another night in that house either. But here's the thing that keeps me up at night. Whatever was in that room, whatever tormented Robert for those 3 hours, who's to say it's not still out there? Who's to say it won't find another victim? I've been keeping a closer eye on my own house since then, double-checking the locks, leaving lights on at night. Because if there's one thing Robert's experience taught me, it's that the world is a lot darker and more terrifying than we like to believe. So, the next time you hear a strange noise in your house, or notice a light flickering when it shouldn't be, maybe think twice before investigating, because you never know what might be waiting for you in the shadows. And hey, if you enjoyed this terrifying tale, or if it scared the living daylights out of you, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment letting me know if you've ever experienced anything unexplainable in your own home. And remember, stay safe out there. You never know what's lurking just around the corner.